No, thank you. Sleepy. You come back in an hour.
Need sleepy.
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Caligiero, and it's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing all right. I hope everybody had a great weekend. Today's show is being brought to you in part by Sal's Neighborhood Italian Restaurant and Pizzeria, located in beautiful St. Simons Island, Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Don't forget, if you're not in the St. Simons area or anywhere on the Golden Isles of Georgia, and you're heading south because it's getting close to that time of year again where the snowbirds head south. Well, don't forget, it's literally 15 minutes out of your way off of I-95. Trust me, it'll become a regular stop. It's worth the time. They got clean bathrooms there, too. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Today's show is also being brought to you in part by JKJ Boxing Magazine. Want a free copy? I'll hook you up. Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the JKJ Boxing Magazine cover, which is located on the right-hand side. And today's show is being brought to you in part by my book. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold, and you can literally get a copy of it right now by visiting barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com, or if you want the electronic versions, Kindle and Nook have them as well, so make sure you get yourself a copy. It's a must-read for everyone, not just boxing fans, because it's a piece of American history, it's a piece of boxing history, of course, and it's a piece of Black American history. So get yourself a copy of the book and see why I'm so adamant about getting this guy remembered. He was ripped off during his lifetime. He was ripped off now, after his lifetime, and all for the same reason, because of the color of his skin. Check out the book. Help me change the way history was written, because it's written wrong. This guy needs to be updated in the history books, especially in the boxing world. Tom Molyneux, you'll see what I'm talking about. Read the book. Anyway, special shout out to all of our viewers on Fight TV and Fight.TV. That's FITE. Glad to be part of your sports programming, and we're glad to have you being part of our show this morning. Don't forget, we know we have a lot of different ways for you to watch or listen to our show, but if you're watching live, come on over to the chat room at BillyCBoxing.com. That's the one where we actually will help you become part of the show. So before we get started here, we got a couple of things going on. First and foremost, it was officially announced that Sergey Kovalev and Andre Ward are indeed fighting. I mean, we all knew it. Now the big question is, will Ward back out for some reason? I have a feeling he's gonna. I have a feeling that an injury is going to come up, and Ward is going to back out of this fight. But it's tentatively scheduled for November 19th. Do you think that Ward will man up and fight Sergey Kovalev, or is he going to punk out and come up with some kind of injury before November 19th? Drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing, that's TALKINBOXING.com. We also got some emails to read. Some upsets this weekend in the sport of boxing. A couple of fighters supposed to have won, and neither one of them did. And the third, that was supposed to be a showcase, didn't look all that great either. We'll talk about the fight card that was on Spike TV featuring Robert Guerrero and Alfredo Angulo and Terrell Gachet, or they pronounce it different. I don't know. Coming up in a little bit, but joining me right now from beautiful St. Simon's Island, Georgia. Or maybe not. Maybe he's in Florida right now. I don't know, man. I can't keep track. It's like finding Waldo when you're looking for Sal Rocky Senecola. What's up, Sal?
Billy, good morning. How are you? I am talking from Area 51 in St. Augustine, beautiful St. Augustine.
Oh, okay. I knew you had to be somewhere. I knew you because you know what I always say: wherever you go, there you are. You know?
I love it. I love it.
Hey, I just wanted to ask you. You know, I don't know. I've been following it pretty closely, and it's been really entertaining. But congratulations to the small town of Endwell, New York, who put together a Little League team that went through the Little League World Series and won the Little League World Series with a 2-1 victory over South Korea. What an exciting run for these kids. You know, Sal, I mean, I personally was involved with the youth sports with my own kids when they were growing up. And it's so important for the development of youths to be involved in this. And I tell you, what a big stage for these kids. I mean, 10 and 12-year-olds. Some of them have turned 13 during the World Series. But I mean, these are kids, man, and coming out. I mean, these kids walked out onto the field with people chanting "USA, USA." You know, it was like them against South Korea. It has to be rewarding and pressure-ridden for these kids. What do you think?
Billy, I think for these young kids to be on a stage, and that we'll say the world stage for
it was on ESPN. It was on
ESPN. Let me tell you something. It says a lot. The pressure like this on a 12 and 13-year-old to rise to the occasion, and a Little League organization to become a world champion, to become world champions in an organized venue like Little League Baseball. I mean, that is freaking big. That is going to be the memory of their lifetime that they're always going to be able to recall and say, wow. I mean, this is it. How many kids from this experience are going to have that fire saying, I want to play Major League Baseball? And who knows what their path is going to lead them to. And this is great. I think it's phenomenal.
I tell you what, you make a great point, because I'll tell you why. A lot of these kids do make it to them ages because they show you pictures of the today's superstars when they themselves performed in the Little League World Series. So a great call there. And speaking of calling, it was officially announced that the fight between Sergey Kovalev and Andre Ward is official. Tickets go on sale this week. Yeah, it's official. The tickets go on sale Friday, and the fight is scheduled for November 19th in Las Vegas. My quick thoughts are, I have a feeling Andre Ward, the diva, is going to back out of this fight somehow. What do you think?
You know, Bill, if he gets a hand injury, if he twists an ankle, if he has a cut, that's going to be the only thing that we can see if he gets a cut. But the bottom line is this could be a very good fight. I don't like the way that Ward really looked his last outing. And I'll tell you what, this could be a big upset, and we could see a big win by Kovalev. And I'm sure Ward, if he's going to wiggle his room and get out of the fight, you're going to hear it probably next month or so. He's going to get an injury, or maybe even as close as a month before.
I tell you what, I have a feeling that you're being kind, saying if he twists an ankle, hurts his knee, whatever. I think if he gets a mosquito bite, or if he gets an ingrown toenail, or maybe a nick on his arm from one of his kids, or cutting the lawn. I think if anything happens to him, he's going to use it as an excuse. I really do.
Really?
But to tell you the truth, nobody was a bigger fan of Andre Ward than myself during the Super Six.
I know that.
And it's just that he's turned into such a even though I've met him in person, and he's one of the nicest guys you ever want to meet, from a business perspective, and the way he negotiates and the way he's thinks he's empowered to be the next best guy without really proving it anymore. Because I'm sorry, I just don't go back and look at what he did 5 years ago to catapult him. I really think that he's diva enough, because he's mad that this fight is not taking place in California. He's mad that his name isn't, being billed first. So I don't know. I really
He's whining already, and he probably was one of the first guys that bought that book off of Amazon by Floyd Mayweather, My Road to Success and Why. No, I'm teasing. It's a joke.
Yeah, it better be what? Because I was going to say, what are you plugging somebody else now?
No, I'm not plugging. No plugs today, okay? I'm not going to mention anything about any other thing.
Hey, I got some emails to read, but before I do, and I got the fight results we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. But you know what? Before I do, I was listening. I had to go somewhere this weekend, and I like to listen to this classic radio where they have these old shows from the late 40s and 50s, like Dragnet and I can't even think of any anymore. Like,
Abbott and Costello.
Well, no, I don't listen to those. I like more of the mystery ones, Johnny Dollar and stuff like that. The Shadow, and stuff. But anyway, I was listening to a detective series, and it was actually a Jack Webb before he did the Dragnet stuff that everybody was famous for. And this is what I mean. This is how quickly boxing went from being the sport to being, you can't even find it on ESPN's webpage. Jack Webb, who was starring in this, was coming out with some one-liners, right? And he made a statement. They were talking about this guy that they were going to go and arrest, or the guy got caught, or whatever he said. And the guy goes, the criminal says to him, yeah, well, I thought, and they were saying like, what made you, think you could get away, or this and that. And he goes, well, I thought I had a chance. And Jack Webb says, yeah, Firpo thought he had a chance too. And he's referring to the Firpo Dempsey fight, and I'm saying to myself, oh my God, here he is using that as a one-liner where everybody during that era could relate to what he was saying. And today, if you listen to it, most people won't even get it. They won't even know what he's talking about, Pretty funny stuff, I thought. But
Classic. That is beautiful. That is funny.
Anyway, we got some emails here. This first one is actually a non-boxing one. It's from my man Coach, and it's happened over the weekend. And it's big in the sporting news, and a lot of people are pretty pissed off about it. And, let me read the email. He says, hey, Billy C., I know you guys and the guys in the chat room tolerate my daily political rants, but this one is something I can't pass. This weekend, at a San Francisco 49er versus Green Bay Packer exhibition preseason game ceremonies, a-hole 49er quarterback Colin Kaepernick, after being born, growing up, and living in the greatest country in the world and reaping all of its incredible benefits, claiming he wanted to bring attention to Black Lives Matter, chose to gain it by not standing for our national anthem. After saying he had thought about it for a while, the self-centered, clearly misguided backup couldn't find. That's a little stab from Coach to Kaepernick, because he used to be a starting quarterback. But anyway, he said couldn't find another way to make his point other than refusing to stand up for our national anthem and totally disrespecting not only the singer, but our flag, our veterans, our law enforcement, the Packers, the 49ers, and our country as a whole. Does he even know why we stand? It's not for one single meaning, but several. Why do we stand? In short, it's a way of showing respect and gratitude, but since it starts with self-respect, Kaepernick must have none. Does this joker know? The reason we stand for this is the same reason that we say thank you, please, or excuse me, or shake hands when we meet someone. It's the same reason that the followers of Islam wear and I can't pronounce this, so, what they wear, and the Jews wear and I can't pronounce this either, I think it's a kippah.
Yarmulke.
What is it?
Yarmulke.
Yeah, but he...
Okay.
I don't think that's what he's. I don't think yarmulke is spelled.
I see Kaepernick.
Yeah, but Kaepernick is the guy's name. But
I'm teasing.
But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
A sign of respect. It's the same reason that you may offer. You better get better with your jokes, Sal. I mean, come on. He says it's the same reason that you may offer your seat to a pregnant lady while on a bus. It's the same reason you stand when a judge enters the court room. Must I go on? Sure, we have freedom of expression and speech. And as a veteran, I love our land of freedoms. But playing in the NFL, he must have learned you have to show respect to get it. And he just lost mine. I'll bring today's rant to a close. And while I don't condone violence to put this back on a boxing platform, in my mind, the only thing that self-serving fool deserves is a good 1-2 or a big left hook. Now that I've vented, I'll sit quiet and watch that noodle arm, wet-brained scumbag sit where he belongs on the back of the bench, watching from the sideline when the season starts.
Wow.
You know what, Coach? I agree with you. I did catch this. I was appalled. A lot of players, fans are appalled by this. This whole Black Lives Matter movement, not to get into it, is just a chicken shit way, in my opinion, of pointing the finger at some things. Yes, there have been some injustices done by specific police and specific police departments, but one move doesn't represent all, in my opinion. And to be honest with you, to make a statement like just Black Lives Matter, well, all lives matter. It doesn't matter what color you are, what you believe in, or anything else. All lives
children
matter.
Of one God, or for those that don't believe, but we're here.
And the whole issue with Kaepernick is, I agree with Coach. I mean, if you're going to make a statement and you want to make a statement for, something he feels strongly about, like the Black Lives Matter movement, well, then he should have found a different way, because by blanketing it around our national anthem, which, as Coach pointed out, people have lost their lives for protecting our freedoms, etc., etc. Most Americans are proud to be Americans, and for him to use that as a platform was kind of a punk move. And although people are afraid to really give their true opinions about him doing that, because after all, we do have freedom of speech and expression, there is a certain amount of respect here, Sal, that I feel Kaepernick is not giving, and I don't think he's going to get it either.
No, I agree with you, Bill. I mean, this could have been handled in so many other venues or other ways, and as you hinted to. And unfortunately, when he's using our national anthem, not just a Caucasian or Black or Hispanic national anthem, but the citizens of the United States of America that know the strives, know the struggles, know what we've done to earn our place here on our little corner of the world here. Not really that little bit big, but I mean, the whole thing is this. There was a lot that we had to spend to get where we are. And it was blood, sweat, tears, and struggles. And it's for everybody that is here in the United States of America that should celebrate the reason and understand the reason why we do stand, why we do respect, and why we do honor our national anthem on the world stage. And this guy lost the boat and lost my vote going forward in the future. I'm not a big fan of his, and I never will be again.
I'm playing the national anthem now. I have a little flag on the counter that's actually moving. My grandson let me borrow this for today's show, and it's Colin. This is for you. He should be standing right now, Sal. And if if I wasn't in my underwear, I'd be standing too.
Easy.
Well,
you look at that. Now, I remember back in history books in early grades of school, we had to learn, dissect, and study and understand why the national anthem was written and what was happening. And I think that was, what was that, Francis Scott Key?
Yeah, good. I skipped school that day, so I'm glad you had me up on that.
But you always got to be careful with those guys with three names.
That's right. They come from the land of the three name people. But Coach, great job,
Coach,
and I agree with his
phenomenal
point. And, all kidding aside, I think Colin Kaepernick should have used a different platform. But anyway, we got a couple more emails real quick. Actually, I passed one that I shouldn't have. This one's from my man Brett from Canada. He says, hey, you doing, Billy C. and Sal? I just got done listening to Wednesday and Friday show. First off, my thoughts might be later than everyone else's, but I'm not in agreement either about the fact that Sweet Pea was a boring fighter. I would watch him over Mayweather any day of the week. He had skill and his fights weren't boring at all. Alex did a great job on the blast telling how hard of a route he took to his title fights. Heck, fighting an 11-0 guy right off the bat and beating him has my respect right there. I certainly haven't forgotten about him at all. I agree. Although the title of the show said Mayweather and Sweet Pea were great fighters, but both were boring. A lot of people have come, much to my surprise and enlightenment, which I'm also very glad and thankful that a lot of people came to Sweet Pea's defense. So I'm glad that he isn't forgotten. He says, I was really glad to see Triple G tell it like it is. I read the quotes online and I laughed when he called Eubank, Froch, Canelo, and Saunders a bunch of clowns. I totally agree that they don't have the respect for the sport that they should, and all they do is talk smack and look out for themselves. If Canelo fights Margarito next, I agree that does nothing for him, and also think his stock has slipped already by not taking the Triple G fight. If he ever made the comments in the ring after the Khan fight, it wouldn't have been so bad. I think he says, I think Dax Khan was onto something when he said about Pacquiao fighting Canelo. That's a great fight, and I'd love to see it way more than another Mayweather fight. That would be the way that Canelo could right the ship and do it in a hurry. I don't know if that does anything for Canelo. Remember, Mayweather is looking out for Mayweather. So Mayweather wants to make the most money he can. Do you think that if Mayweather fought Canelo again, would that be accepted? I think so, but I don't think Mayweather fights Canelo again. I think he takes what he thinks is an easier route to his 50th win and another humongous payday, and that is Pacquiao. So I don't know. That's my thoughts. He says, by the way, I think the female fighter from Canada who Dax was referring to fight Heather Hardy is Jelena Majenovic. She's the WBC and WBA featherweight champ. Jelena has a fight coming up in October against Gali Amand in Edmonton. If she's successful, I'd love to see her fight Heather Hardy or Shelley Vincent. She has good skill, and I think she would beat either one. I know, Jelena, I got to call two of Jelena's fights up in Edmonton on television, on Canadian television. They're equivalent to like Showtime. I think it's called Sportsnet or something like that. So, yeah, no, I would love Jelena. I actually called her fight. She lost it. It was a tough fight. But anyway, she says, congratulations. He says, congratulations on getting on Fight TV. I'm happy for you guys. You got a great team, and we're praying for you guys in the show and more doors and opportunities opening up. Well, I appreciate that, Brett, and we work hard. Email. Yeah, we work hard, and doors constantly open. One more email. This one's another one from Canada. This is from Chris from Canada. We're getting invaded by Canada, which is a good thing. He says, hey, Billy C., what do you think Virgil Hunter's game plan for Andre Ward is to beat Kovalev? It's a good question. I think his first game plan, Sal, is to make sure Kovalev doesn't get a mosquito bite or stub his toe or something so he backs out. But if he can keep him, safe, I think that the game plan is going to be pretty obvious. Andre Ward doesn't have the power to knock out Kovalev. He doesn't. And he's never been hit by a real powerful light heavyweight. He hasn't. Okay? He has fought a couple of fights at light heavyweight, but he's cherry-picked some really weak opposition and couldn't stop them, and they obviously couldn't stop him. I think the game plan is pretty simple. If I'm Andre Ward and his team, I want him to use his boxing skill. I think that one negative on Kovalev is that he doesn't control the ring as well as Triple G. I think that if Andre Ward can be on his bicycle and stick and move and fight a boring Mayweather-esque type fight, he'll get out of there with the W. I don't want to see it, but that's the game plan that could beat Kovalev. But I've said it all along, Sal. I think Kovalev is going to win and win big against Andre Ward.
I happen to agree with you. I like what I see in Kovalev, even though he also didn't have the greatest outing his last time out. But I still think he's got the stuff that's going to negate the fluff. Wow, I like that. I think he's good. I think he's going to be dominant in that fight. I think he's going to counter. I think he's going to come in. I think whatever ring generalship he can use to cut off the ring. I do see Andre Ward trying to use his boxing skills and get in, get out, and move. But I think Kovalev is going to be dominant in that fight and catch him with some big shots early.
Well, Kovalev works with John David Jackson, who's a soft-spoken, very knowledgeable, probably an underrated trainer. And John David Jackson knows his stuff. And, if I'm them, I'm working on cutting the ring off. I'm assuming Andre Ward is going to do exactly what we're saying, Sal. Because if he doesn't, that's all in Kovalev's favor. If all of a sudden,
you're exactly right. What is he going to do? Try to come forward?
Right.
Punches and come
exactly.
In? That's Kovalev saying, "Come to dinner." Buddy.
Yeah, come to dinner, man. Come on straight in. So I think that the camp for Kovalev is going to be to cut the ring off, and hopefully, for Kovalev, Andre Ward, his athleticism and mobility is going to be hampered by his knee issues.
Right.
So we'll see. Official. Kovalev Ward, November 19th in Las Vegas.
There's only one thing that now has a red flag. You got Kovalev's trainer. He also has 3 names. Tease him.
Yeah, John David Jackson. Some big fights this weekend, Sal. And let me just go through them real quick, and then we'll talk about the main ones. In what had to be considered a shocking upset, David Emanuel Peralta, another member of the 3-name club, improved to 26 wins, 2 losses, and a draw with 14 knockouts when he won a split decision over Roberto Guerrero, who drops to 33-5-1 with 18 knockouts on Saturday night in California. 115, 113, 116, 112 for Peralta, and one judge saw it for Guerrero at 115, 113. Peralta said, "I wanted to retire before this fight. I'm a cab driver and driving cabs in Argentina. I was offered this fight to fight in the U.S. and came away victorious. I came to fight, and I knew I would win. He's a good fighter, but I hit him with the harder shots. I thought I knocked him down, but the referee felt it wasn't a knockdown. I have to respect that. Now I want to fight bigger names. No way I'm going to retire now. I'm ready to again fight soon. This was no joke, and I can beat a lot of great fighters. Hopefully I get good fights after this performance. I won't be a taxi driver no more."
Wow.
I tell you what, I felt that was a knockdown. I mean, the corner held him up. I mean, come on.
The guy fell right into the
I know.
turnbuckle.
I mean, a bad call, but then again, the referees, they favor the fighter. I'm sorry, but the referees and judges favor the hometown guy. Guerrero said, "I thought I won this fight clearly." For one of the judges to say I lost 8 rounds sounds just crazy to me. Peralta was awkward, but I felt I won. I won the rounds when I boxed. This is disappointing, but I'll be back. That you can count on. We'll get to what we thought of this fight in a couple minutes. Also on that card, Freddie Hernandez. And this was a super middleweight fight. Beat Alfredo Angulo via a 10-round unanimous decision. 98-92, 97-93 twice to improve to 34 wins and 8 losses. Angulo drops to 24-6. And this could be the end for Angulo. He looked very ordinary. We talk about the style of fighting that we like, Sal. We like guys that go after it. Angulo is that type of fighter. However, virtually no defense, no style, no form, just a clubber. And Freddie Hernandez is no world beater and beat Angulo, I'm thinking Angulo, might have seen his last fight, and also on that card in the junior middleweight division, Terrell Gachet is how I pronounce it. I think I'm pronouncing it wrong. Improved to 19-0 with 9 knockouts when he won a majority decision over Steve Martinez, who drops to 16-3. One judge had it even, 95-95, and the other two saw it 97-93 in favor of Terrell. I don't know about that score. I don't know about that win. He looked very ordinary to me. We'll get back to that in 1 second. A big fight in the featherweight division. Miguel Mariaga improved to 24-1 when he scored a 6-round knockout over Guy Robb, who drops only the second fight of his career, 18-2. Took place in Nevada. 2 minutes and 6 seconds was the official stoppage. Also on that card in the lightweight division, Jose Feliz Jr. improved to 34 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw when he scored a 6-round stoppage over Rob Frankel at 2 minutes and 23 seconds of the 6th round. Frankel drops to 34 wins and 17 losses. Jose Gonzalez, the younger brother of Roman Gonzalez, improved to 5-0 with a draw when he beat Galacio Cruz in a 4-round fight. All 3 judges saw it the same, 40-36. In the super middleweight division, Vili Yildirim improved to 13-0 with 8 knockouts when he dominated Aaron Pryor in Germany. Pryor drops to 19-10. 2 of the judges had it 100-90. One had it 99-30. Rumor has it that he'll be facing Schiller Hippolyte next. And a couple of important fights, really, for the younger fighters. Danny Roman in the super bantamweight division scored a 10-round unanimous decision over Enrique Quivado, who Roman improves to 20-2 to draw. Quivado drops to 16-8. And LaRon Mitchell, heavyweight, remains undefeated. He improved to 14-0. Going the distance for the first time in his career. Sal, he's now 14-0 with 13 knockouts when he beat Mario Herrera, who drops to 14-5, 77-74 twice, 76-75, all for LaRon Mitchell and his first big test. In a slugfest out of New Jersey, welterweight Juan Rodriguez improved to 13-4 despite hitting the canvas when he won a split decision over Alex Perez, who drops to 18-3. In the heavyweight division, Tyrone Wright improved to 9 wins, no losses, and a draw when he won a unanimous decision over Nicholas Thompson, who drops to 5-2. So that's what took place in the sport over the weekend. And let's talk about the fights that were on Spike TV. First and foremost, Sal, I know you watched the Guerrero fight. And I think the judges got it right. I think Peralta won the fight. I think my main thing that I saw that Guerrero was being aggressive. He was trying to stimulate the action, so to speak. But every time he threw 2 punches, Peralta threw back 4. And I think that, it was obvious to me that he won. And I was getting ready to hear a terrible decision, especially when one of the judges scored it in favor of Guerrero. But I thought Peralta won that fight. I thought the size and his reach and his chin served him well. What's your thoughts?
Billy, I agree with you. I concur 100%. Going into the fight, Guerrero's camp couldn't even find fight films on this guy because he fought in his backyard in Argentina. And so we have no idea what the opposition was or what level it was. So he comes into the ring, into the United States of America for the first time, fighting outside of his backyard, with a record of 25 wins, 2 defeats, with 14 KOs. All right. So Guerrero doesn't know if he's in with a world beater, doesn't know who he's in with, but he knows he's going to come in for a fight. And he should have prepared for a world-class fight all along, like every fighter should be prepared to step in the ring for it. And I could see how this guy did exactly what I say all the time. You never know. Any given night, a fighter could be beaten. And when a fighter comes in and rises to the occasion and knows he belongs where he is, it's like where you are, you're going, whatever it was. But he actually stepped into that ring under the world lights of the United States in Anaheim, California, on a world stage, and he performed at a level I'm sure he hasn't performed at in the past because he rose to the occasion. I thought it was going to be a blowout. I thought Guerrero was fighting a guy that was just average at best. And the first couple of rounds, Guerrero was dominant. But I saw something in those early rounds that said, wow, Guerrero might be in for a surprise tonight. Even as early as round 2, I saw this guy Peralta being patient, waiting for Guerrero to throw those jabs, to come in on him, and boom, I saw him come over the top, and he was effective with it. So it was just a matter of putting it all together, which he did. By round 5 or 6, I think he dominated the rest of the fight, except for maybe one round.
Let me start off by saying I've always been a big fan of Robert Guerrero.
I know, yeah.
He's been on the show several times, and I give him a lot of credit for staying focused, especially when his beautiful wife was battling cancer, and he's got a young family, and he's one of the good guys.
He's a class act. He's a great guy.
He is. But when I looked at this fight, Sal, I couldn't help but think of a couple of things. One, and knowing Robert Guerrero when he fought in the lower weight classes, I thought that the guy was dominating and powerful and everything else. But I couldn't help but wonder, is he not as good as I thought he was, or like it happens to so many athletes, regardless of the sport you're in, especially in boxing, did he age before our eyes on Saturday night? And, no disrespect to Peralta, but it's not like Peralta's a diamond in the rough, a guy that, has been, such a great fighter that, he just hasn't had the opportunity. I don't know if I'm ready to anoint him of that yet. A lot of his fights were in Argentina and, fighting against obscure opposition. I don't know if I need to give all the credit to Peralta and his performance against Guerrero, which I'm giving him a lot of credit for. But was it Guerrero a shell of himself? Was it Peralta stepping up for the biggest fight of his career? I mean, you could answer yes to almost any one of those questions.
Sure can.
But I think that at the end of the day, this might be the end for Guerrero. I mean, unless he wants to become that proverbial gatekeeper or journeyman, I think he's made enough money where he could sit back and maybe consider walking away from the sport. I know he said in his quote, "I'll be back. You can count on that." I don't know. I mean, what level of opponent are they going to put him back in where he can, end on a positive note? I don't know. I think it's time for him and his family to make a decision, and maybe it's time for him to hang up the gloves. What do you think?
Well, that is a hard time to really reflect and look at yourself in the mirror and say, is it time? Am I ready to walk away? And no fighter, especially after the career he's had, wants to go out of the ring, out of the sport he's given his life to, on a losing note. So I don't know what he's going to do first or next, but hopefully he'll get a win under his belt and assess it. But I think he's got to seriously think about maybe stepping aside and looking at how to make a gracious exit plan. Because I'll tell you, you hit it on the head. I'm not saying that David Peralta is ready for the world-class number 1 ranked contender in the world, but I'll tell you what, Guerrero, I think he's had a great career. I think he had his moments. But I will tell you, I just saw that this Peralta really just assessed what kind of fighter he was in with, and I could see that he was gaining more and more confidence with each round until he opened up around round 5 and 6, 7, and 8. But, I think Guerrero's got to look at himself in the mirror and really ask himself some really serious questions. Otherwise, his health may be at risk in the future.
When I look at fighters in the past, and, we're always, especially today, we're always getting into this argument with the, Kool-Aid drinking fans that try to tell me that, that 1-2 and run across the ring is boxing. That's boxing, Billy C. You don't know boxing, Billy C. I hate that. It drives me crazy because to me, and I've always said, the definition of the sweet science is hit and not get hit, but be in position to inflict damage on your opponent. Again, it doesn't mean, throw a jab or two and run across the ring. To me, that's just not the sweet science. And when I look at past greats like Sugar Ray Robinson and, of course, Sugar Ray Leonard and guys like that could make you miss and do both styles. They could stand in the pocket and make you miss, or they could use their feet and get out of harm's way. But either way, they were exciting fighters. Then you look at guys that some of these Kool-Aid drinking fans today refer to as just brawlers, like Jake LaMotta and even greats. These are all greats. LaMotta and Marciano and Mike Tyson and Jack Dempsey and more, modern fighters like Triple G and Sergey Kovalev. I mean, these guys come at you, but for some reason, the Kool-Aid drinking fans look at them as brawlers and not sweet science and everything else, which I totally disagree. What am I getting at? Well, Alfredo Angulo this past weekend, who was an exciting fighter and I love to watch, showed me that he is nothing more than a brawler. These guys like Mike Tyson and Dempsey and Triple G and Sergey Kovalev, who some people label as brawlers and just, power punches, they possess and demonstrated, defense where fighters couldn't hit them, or they had head movement, or they did use a jab, or they did cut the ring off. They displayed other characteristics of the sweet science. Alfredo Angulo on Saturday night, Sal, displayed nothing more than a headhunter, following his guy around, trying to knock him out, taking punishment along the way, and not knowing how to cut the ring off, not knowing how to protect himself. And since he keeps moving up in weight, and this was specifically a super middleweight fight, this guy was at his best at junior middleweight, showed me that he's not bringing the power up with these guys, and ultimately lost to Freddie Hernandez. Now, no disrespect to Freddie Hernandez, but he's no killer. I've seen him fight many times. And, he should have been. I mean, both of these opponents for Guerrero and Angulo were brought in because they had respectable records, and they were supposed to lose. And both of these fighters came and fought a good fight. Freddie Hernandez outboxed, out-sweet scienced Alfredo Angulo easily. And I when they were ready to render that decision, I'm saying to myself, if they give this to Angulo, boy, am I going to have a lot of content to talk about this week on this show. But fortunately for the judges, who may have even tried to sway some rounds, scored the fight well and correct. I think this is the end for Alfredo Angulo. I mean, he's become a proverbial punching bag. What do you think, real quick?
Well, I think real quick, you're right on the head there, too. I mean, Angulo obviously didn't have his plan B in mind. And, once he felt he was going to start eating punches, you usually try to change your game plan. And you're approaching a ring, you move your head, your hands, whatever you got to do. But, like I said, let's hear for some of these guys that do rise to the occasion, have an opportunity. And you're right. Angulo, as well as Guerrero, these guys were brought in to be respectable opponents. And they were supposed to showcase and show that these guys still could fight and do it dominantly. And it didn't happen. And that's where I like going off script and just giving these guys like this an opportunity to rise to the occasion. So my hat's off to them. They did it. Now let's see if they can sustain that going forward. And maybe they have something they can show that they belong in the world stage. But I agree with you, Bill. Agree very much.
Yeah, Angulo's got to seriously think about hanging him up. Clearly a display of not the sweet science. To me, for anybody that tries to say that a guy like Triple G or Sergey Kovalev does not display sweet science, all you got to do is watch Alfredo Angulo fight Freddie Hernandez, and there, ladies and gentlemen, is an example of not fighting the sweet science. But,
exactly.
Also,
Bill. Okay.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you look at a lot of the fights we've talked about during the course of this year, and I just want to thank the PBC for bringing some decent fights to my television set on a public station. I mean, I'm very excited about it. Like I said, I think it's given us a chance to talk about these fights on a world stage here that we see broadcast, and I think it's a great showcase, a great way to see some good competitive fights. Have all of them been great? No, but guess what? We've been handed a pretty good mixture of some good fights this year by the PBC.
Well, the PBC has lasted 4 months longer than I predicted their
You did?
demise. And the thing is that, what are we seeing here? Are we seeing good fights, or are we seeing fighters that have been promoted and shoved down our throats as good fighters being exposed? I mean, that's the big question. When you coddle fighters for so long and then you put them in with just a tough guy, and they come up short. I mean, case in point, Terrell Gachet is how they were pronouncing his name. I always thought it was Gashua, but Terrell Gachet, who was a 2012 Olympian, who's fighting in the junior middleweight division, who looked big and strong, there's no question about it. He got off with, to tell you the truth, I don't know if the judges got this fight right. He improved to 19-0 with 9 knockouts when he fought Steve Martinez. But I thought Steve Martinez was the busier fighter. This, again, goes back to judging criteria. Steve Martinez didn't have the heavy hands that Terrell Gachet had. But he landed so many more punches. At least it appeared that way to me. So what do you do? I mean, if you're born with the non-gift of heavy hands, but you are accurate and you land. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Steve Martinez, is a world beater, but the guy was landing more punches. He seemed more accurate. He was counterpunching well, and Terrell Gachet was picking his shots. He was virtually did nothing in the first couple of rounds. The middle rounds he kind of fell asleep. He came alive in the later rounds. I don't know. I think Terrell Gachet got a gift in this fight. He was the guy that was supposed to win, and I think because he punches a little harder, he got, the judges were giving him rounds that he may have only landed 3 or 4 punches versus Martinez. And I don't have the stats in front of me, but Martinez may have landed 10 or 12, and they're putting more value in the heavy hands. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to come. I mean, Paulie Malignaggi won many, many fights with accumulative punches and didn't have many knockouts. Didn't even have 10. I think he's only got 7 knockouts in his career. Obviously, if they were using this method of scoring, he would have come up with a lot more losses. What's your thoughts on one heavy punch? Does it equal how many lighter punches? And I'm not talking jabs. I'm saying that this guy was landing combination punches. Martinez, I can understand a jab not equaling as much, but I don't know. I think the judges got this fight wrong, to be honest with you.
It's a good question, and it's when you have 3 judges, it's so subject to their whole viewpoint of how they see a fight, and growing up in the amateurs during the 70s. We were already, as amateurs, we knew, hey, well, the fight's level here. It's going to be scoring with just a jab counts like a right hand and all this other stuff. And we also heard that, well, when we turn pro, if we turn pro, wow, big right hand's going to negate all those other little shots. And, so I think that is why it's so subject to that individual judge. I mean, you can't just say if a guy lasts 3/4 of the round, 2 minutes and 30 seconds, he's outboxing him, and then you see a guy come back in the last 10 seconds with a good right hand. Should it negate that whole round that the guy worked for? Or should it be a draw? Or should whatever? Was the guy hurt? That's why it's so subject to a person's opinion about what is a classic way to judge a fight. And, they're not all on the same page, Bill.
Well, Gachet obviously has a solid chin. He took some shots, and his punches were powerful. I mean, when he was landing punches on Martinez, they seemed to stun him, or at least affected him in some way, shape, or form. But at the end of the day, I don't know. I didn't see the. I really don't have the stats in front of me, but it seemed to me watching this fight that Martinez landed a hell of a lot more than Gachet did.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? Sometimes these guys, you wonder, and the truth of the matter is is, what value do you put in? Where are these guys? But coddling fighters, is it helping or hurting? I don't know. I really don't know, and I guess we'll never know.
Truth be told, Bill, you have a good prospect. He seems to have the tools. You have a management team. You see that a guy has a pop in his punch. He has some good boxing skills. He has some intelligence to learn how to play the game of chess inside the boxing ring. Not literally, but you know what I mean. And cut the ring off. So he's got the foundation. He's got the tools. So what do? Well, you probably want to see him step up with his level of opposition, but you want to test him early on, and you give him somebody early on to get his confidence up and see what he could display. But then, like you said, the art has been gone for decades now. I think where you look at a certain opponent's level, and then you got to put him into that match and see how he graduates from that next level of opposition, and then you give him a steady diet of better and better opponents. And that's the art of what we don't see as well today.
Yeah, that's what has to be done to get your fighters better and better. I mean, it's just like any other sport. You want to up your level of opposition so you get better, But in boxing, they're so afraid of getting a loss that they don't do that. But speaking of getting a loss, it was reported yesterday that Triple G, although he's got a big fight coming up, in a couple of weeks. I mean, we were just talking about this off of the air. September 10th, Triple G is fighting Kell Brook, and it's a fight that I'm looking forward to. We'll definitely be doing a post-fight show. We had hoped to be doing a live post-fight show from Sal's, and I don't think that's happening. But either way, we will be doing a live post-fight show. Either way, whether it's from Sal's or from here. And it's a big fight, but I'm shocked, Sal, that Team Triple G said that they still want to fight Billy Joe Saunders after the Kell Brook fight, and they are really pushing, even though Billy Joe Saunders walked away. Now it was reported that they offered him just about $3 million to fight Triple G. I mean, that's life-changing money. Even after taxes, and he pays all his expenses and everything, I'm talking about the guy, meaning Billy Joe Saunders, walks away with $1 million in his pocket, cash. That's a hell of a lot of money. And Triple G said that they're willing to go to England and they'll do whatever concession they had, and they felt that the offer financially was more than fair, and I have to agree with them. They also said that their priority, of course, is Canelo, but since Canelo, backed away, really, it doesn't matter for Triple G to fight Canelo anymore on his end because Canelo doesn't have a belt. The whole goal here, the reason why Triple G wants Billy Joe Saunders is to collect all the belts in the middleweight division, unify the division, which I absolutely love. They said if Canelo wants a fight, of course they want to fight him, and they feel that Canelo has tarnished his own image by chickening out and not facing Triple G. What's your thoughts on that, on Canelo, tarnishing his own image, and by Triple G basically offering to give Billy Joe Saunders another shot at manning up and fighting him after the Kell Brook fight?
Well, I think Triple G's reasoning behind it is 100% on. Yeah, unify that title, unify it, get that belt. That's reason enough, and we would see that at 160-pound middleweight division, that unified belt being a prize, and I think that's a good enough reason for Triple G to want to fight him. But as far as the tarnishing of Canelo, I mean, I've lost respect for him. You've lost respect for him. And you know how big of a Canelo fan I was, and I still am. I love Canelo. I think he's a good fighter. I want to see him to become really a great fighter. But, I thought he really should have went into the ring with Triple G while the brew was being spoken about and while it was being vetted. I think it would have been a great contest, a great moneymaker, and a great event. And a good fight. Good fight. I think Triple G would still have his hands in Canelo's face before he knocks him out. But that's my call.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Canelo does, and obviously he made it pretty obvious last week with a statement saying that, he basically, which was different than what he was saying after the Khan fight. Basically says all he cares about is what's good for him, and what he was saying after the Khan fight was basically speaking on behalf of all Mexican fighters. So he's kind of let them all down. But anyway, it's we'll have to wait and see. I just give Triple G a lot of credit for continuing to move forward. You know what I mean?
Well, Triple G is the real deal. You and I spoke about it. He's the real thing. And he's a middleweight champion of the world. He wants to fight and make sure that everyone understands he is the only middleweight champion in the world. So I think that says it all right there. And I hate when these fighters come in. Well, we'll fight at this catch weight. We'll do this, do that. You want to fight Triple G? You come up to 160 pounds and fight for the title. When you can. Let's see.
Right. I mean, if he said that he would fight, Triple G and sign today, would you give him the respect back or what?
Canelo?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I sure will. You know what? I'd like to see Canelo say, hey, I want the winner of the Triple G fight and see if we can do. I want Triple G next. Yeah, I think that'd be great. And you want to know something? You want to see him gain his popularity and reestablish some of his credibility and things? Even though, believe me, I know he's a great fighter. I do love Canelo. I liked him from early on. I think he's got many good years and many good fights ahead of him, but I think that would improve his marketability and his value right then and there. If he calls out right now and says, hey, I want the winner of the Triple G fight.
Well, Triple G needs to beat up Saunders, Canelo, and Danny Jacobs, and then I'm happy. But anyway.
And then he could retire.
Yeah. It's too early for a trivia question. Last week, which was being brought to us by the Southern Gourmet Spice Company. If you're looking for a unique spice, check out Kenny Bear's barbecue rub. I had it yesterday on some chicken. It was real good. Get yourself a bottle. Tell them Billy C sent you. Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the Southern Gourmet Spice banner and get yourself a bottle today. You won't regret it. But our trivia question was, who was Noah Brusso? And, I was amazed at how many correct answers we got all during the show, all right? During the show, before we signed off, we had the answers were emailed to me because that's how we do it here on the Billy C Show. You email the correct answers, and we go by the timestamp, and I actually had to use the timestamp because there were so many correct answers, Sal, that I had to weed them out. And the winner was our very own, I say our very own, Coach K got it right. And he won by less than 5 minutes. It was 4 minutes. He got his correct answer in first. The question was, who was Noah Brusso? And the correct answer was Tommy Burns, the Little Giant of Hanover. He was born in 1881 in Canada, and he died in 1955. He had a career record of 46 wins, 34 by knockout, 5 losses in which he was stopped once, 497 rounds with a 57% knockout ratio. He's a former world heavyweight champion and a Boxing Hall of Famer. So congratulations to Coach, who I will get a prize out for. I know what he likes, and I'll find something for him to add to the addition that they built on their house to put all the prizes that the coach has won.
And he deserves them. Let me tell you, he's got a wealth of knowledge. I love to hear comments. I love to hear what Coach has to say and what he makes as far as a point. Great guy.
Today's It's Too Early for a Trivia Question is kind of a tough one. It is one that we've had on this show before. So the first person that gets it right by emailing me, Billy, Billy at Talkin' Boxing, TalkinBoxing.com. Will win the choice of some great prizes. Here's the question, Sal. When was the last fight that went more than 15 rounds? When was the last fight that went more than 15 rounds?
Wow. My canned answer, Jack Dempsey's not even going to be applicable to this.
You never know. You never know.
You never know.
If you know who, when the last fight was that went more than 15 rounds, email me, Billy at TalkinBoxing, TalkinBoxing.com, and you'll win a great prize, I'm sure. So make sure you do that. Finally, Sal, on this day, August 29th, can you believe that it's the end of August? Right? It's
Billy,
the end of summer. It's the end of summer.
We're going into the last quarter, man. I mean, do you understand? September's going to fly by. We're going to be in October. We have Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. You and I are going to be talking here for New Year's Eve special. See what kind of fights we're going to look forward to in the new year ahead. That's what's going to happen. We're going to do a recap, have a great show, talk about the year, how boxing's making a comeback, and how exciting it is. And then we're going to talk about the big fights we're going to look forward to in the beginning of the year. Well, that's going to be for another time. We'll talk about that later.
And don't forget, in November, we're going to make America great again.
We are. Do you know, let me tell you something. This election, when are we going to set aside a couple of minutes to talk about politics on one show?
After
the election?
Yeah, no. Well, yeah, that would be the safe point. But yeah, we need to. There's a lot of things are changing with that. And college football, I know it kicked off last Friday with California at Hawaii. But this weekend, it really kicks off, and we'll be breaking that down later in the week. And NFL has one more week of preseason, then that season kicks off following week. So we'll be talking a lot about that. Baseball season is heating up. The playoffs are starting to come in focus, and the Mets aren't going to be anywhere near the playoffs. But
Yankees have a shot for the wild card.
Yankees have a shot, and I hope they do well. Hope they do well. But on this day in boxing history, which is being brought to us by my book, Tom Molyneux, get a copy. I don't recall seeing a copy at your restaurant, Sal.
Bill, supposedly you gave me 2 copies.
I know. I'm sick of giving you copies.
In my hand.
You give them away.
Copy.
One I even signed for you, So, I mean.
Here's what I'm going to do, because I love you. I'm going to go to Amazon.com. Can I plug that?
Yeah, well.
I'm going to go to Amazon.com, and I'm going to buy your book. And when you come down here next time you're here, I want you to autograph it for me.
Well, maybe I'll be there for the 10th. I am getting hungry. I may have to
come down, pal.
I may have to get a good meal.
We can do a post fight right there.
I know. Well, on this day, August 29th, in 1885, John L. Sullivan wins a 6-round decision over Dominic McCaffrey to win the vacant world heavyweight title in Cincinnati. Now, the reason why that was a vacant is because that was the first fight with the gloved era. And that became John L. Sullivan, who had been the bare knuckle champ for a while. He was the first Marquis of Queensberry rules in Cincinnati. So congratulations to John L., wherever he may be. That mean son of a bitch. But on this day in 1981, Rolando Navarrete knocks out Cornelia Boza Edwards in the 5th round to win the WBC World Junior Lightweight title.
I remember that fight.
And that took place in Italy.
I remember that fight. I watched that.
On this day in 1923, Carl, it's not Dwayne, it's Dane, it is Dwayne, wins a 12-round decision over Jack Kid Wolf to win the World Junior Featherweight title, and that took place in Long Island City, New York. Now, just a little note, the next time a World Junior Featherweight title would be won was 53 years later when Rigoberto Riaso knocks out Warvinge Nakayama to win the WBC World Junior Featherweight title in April of 1976. So there was a long drought for the junior featherweight division. On this day in 1980, Julian Solis wins a 15-round decision over Jorge Luan to win the WBA World Bantamweight title, and that took place in Miami on this day in 1980. Any final thoughts, Sal?
Oh boy, let me tell you, I think we got a lot of thoughts. We got too many to mention right now, but I was just excited. We had some good fights over the weekend, and I'd like to see what's going to happen with the Peralta next time he's out, and also Guerrero, what's he going to do in his future. But let's see what happens in this week. Let's see how these fights coming up between Triple G and let's keep our eye on the Kovalev fight and see how they develop and see if there's anything we need to discuss going forward.
Well, it sounds good, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow's show. And as usual, for everybody, make sure you tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel. And until then, ciao, baby.